Along with extra time and lower instances of unpredictable weather, there are a variety of benefits that come with fall ESN application. Learn more at smartnitrogen.com.
It's now time for the beef market update. Joining us, of course, like she does every 2 weeks for the beef market update, is Anne Wasko, the Gateway Livestock Exchange. Anne, how are we doing on this Friday?
I'm good, Sean. How are you doing today?
I'm doing really good. Doing
Good.
good. And hey, you know what's doing well is some of these markets in the beef sector. Give us an update and then the
Yeah.
why of it.
Okay, sure. Well, another great week south of the border. So in the U.S., South Texas, Kansas, markets were up $2 this week, 190 in the north. So that Nebraska area, 190 to 192. That's 3 to 4 higher than last week. And dressed in the north at 298 delivered. That's also up $2 from last week. So just very strong markets, just continue to move solidly higher. And great support. The cutout, of course, we talked a bit about this, well, 2 weeks ago, but certainly last week. This week, it continued to move another $2 higher. The choice cutout closed last night at 321. It did show some signs maybe of topping earlier this week, Sean. The chuck primal started to come off, but the loin and the rib cutouts, especially as we head into holiday season, that's where a lot of the strength is coming from. And again, giving some great support, to packer margins, and then also helping, give the reason to bid more for these fat cattle. So that's been great. The choice select spread, one thing to watch as we've moved these markets higher, it's widened out to $27 right now. So, for those that are selling on grids, for example, or formula sales that are based on grade, that's really going to be adding to the bottom line. And certainly when we see that kind of spread widen at this time of the year, that's largely due to the demand for that holiday rib, etc. So they're going to want choice in terms of those specific holiday products. So that's kind of exciting.
Is that kind of the max for that spread?
Well, no, we can get into the 30s, but that's certainly as wide as it's been
Okay.
for some time. So no, it's not anything record or anything, but certainly kind of solidifying the fact that this is, holiday demand related, if you will.
Yeah.
We do have a U.S. cattle on feed report coming out this afternoon, and right now the trade is expecting on feed numbers to be about the same as a year ago. September placements, the forecast is down 4%, and September marketings, the forecast is up 2%. So we'll see how that comes out, but that's kind of what the markets, futures have dialed in, if you will. Now, we did have our report here in Western Canada last week. CanFax put that out. Same trend we've been seeing. Our on-feed numbers on October 1st were down. Our September placements were down. From a placement perspective, Sean, that was the 5th consecutive month of smaller year-over-year placements compared to 23 for us here in Canada. I do think that's going to change in October. We've seen, we talked a lot about this over the last few months, how slow things have been to get going, but it has been busy in October. So I think when CanFax comes out with their October placement numbers with the November report, that we will see things have picked up. But it has been slow in terms of these placement patterns here in Western Canada. Just staying on the Western Canadian market for a second, Sean. The fat cattle market didn't change here. We were still steady this week. Pretty quiet trade, limited trade, 403 to 405 delivered. That's going to leave that weekly CanFax average probably around 241. We've been there for a little while now, but because the U.S. market is marching higher, that means our basis has widened. And I think when we get the final data in, we're going to be close to minus 20 this week on the spot sales. Yeah.
Feeders don't want to see that.
No, no. Now, I think, there's been quite a bit of forward contract activity done in preparation for this because it's the fall is the fourth quarter, especially early in the fourth quarter, has turned into be kind of a weak basis period for Western Canadian fat cattle. So I think cattle feeders are doing more contracting in terms of trying to mitigate that basis risk.
Yeah, does that push more fat cattle south then, if you can?
Well, we've been doing that all year long, and I certainly think with the minus 20, you're going to see more interest from U.S. packers for sure.
Okay. And pack profitability, it's a thing. I heard one number this week in the U.S. over $60.
Yeah, I think certainly with that cutout jumping like it did, if you remember, we got down to just under $3, and then we closed this week at just over 321 on the choice cutout. So that certainly has turned the packer margin around, and again, really given them this impetus to get some inventory around them going into the holiday season.
Yeah, so profitability for the producer. So we got the packer making money. Profitability for producers right now. Or do we have all three in this triangle making
Well,
money right
cattle
now?
feeder could be sketchy, if
It
he's on.
depends. There's a
Yeah,
lot of
it'll
variables there.
depend.
Yeah.
If he's finishing yearlings right now or heavier cattle that were not, no risk management per se or no basis contracts, he's probably in the red on those. Some calves potentially that are still in the mix could still be in the black. So a cattle feeder in Western Canada is probably really, I guess the simplest way to say it is it depends.
And you mentioned the holiday time of the year. I think traditionally, probably a lot of people don't think of U.S. Thanksgiving and Christmas as beef kind of demand times, but has that changed over history?
Oh, and this has been a solid time frame for beef demand for quite some time, in terms of especially of those specific holiday rib items. I would say, certainly in recent history, it's been, right up there in terms of moving into that early grilling season that we see in the spring, and maybe more so for this specific holiday rib, if you will. It's really turned into a feature item that consumers want to see on their table for this holiday season.
What's pushing those carcass weights
Yeah,
to
here
these levels?
first of all, here in Canada, our steer carcass weight reached 969 last week. That is big. It's 19 pounds over the 5-year average, 10 pounds over last year. The only year that beats it is the 2022, where we still were dealing with that COVID backlog of cattle, and we were having special meetings to talk about these heavy carcass weights. Well, here we
Yeah.
are, right, almost back there again. So we are behind in our marketings here in the West, and I do think that's impacting this basis. Kind of all comes part and parcel, if you will.
Oh, fascinating stuff. Hey, Anne, thanks so much for joining us here this week for the Beef Market Update. Have yourself a great weekend.
You too. Thanks, Sean.